Oh, strength check failed. I didn't even think of that. Here, take this. Tell Kate as I hand her my dagger. You probably put it better use than me. I'll try to provide support by throwing rocks at the wolves. Understood, she says curtly as she takes my weapon. Kate then starts walking. Yeah, I don't even have any strength. Yeah, I have zero strength. Kate then starts walking slowly towards the three wolves. When she gets close enough, she dashes to the right in order to confuse the animals. Then she runs her knife through one of the wolves' heads. After pulling out her dagger from the beast's skull, she rushes towards the other and kills it as well. The swift strike of her blade, I see that the third wolf is about to catch Kate off her guard. So quickly throw a rock at her, aiming for the head. The wolf manages to get out of the rock's way, but it loses momentum, which gives Kate the opportunity to dash towards it, finish it off with a one clean strike. All of a sudden, the whole world starts spinning around me. Then I soon find myself standing in the middle of a cave again with all my friends beside me. We all seem to have just woken up because they are all looking around themselves to confirm that we are indeed back in the abandoned mines below the ogre fort. At last, the illusion is broken. Hadrick must have found the shaman and forced him to cancel his spell. Before I get the time to fully regain my senses, a bright light envelops Iluna and then it disappears almost as quickly as it appeared. The shaman then starts laughing coarsely and before coughing some blood on the cave's floor. This is the end, Banshee, the shaman says as he coughs some more for both of us. The spell I just cast on you was a curse of death, a shamanic spell that kills both the caster and his target. You likely have less than an hour left to live. My life was forfeited the moment I managed to get myself cornered within my own shaman ritual, but at least now you'll get the satisfaction of dragging the traitor who started all this mess to the underworld with me. He then laughs hoarsely again and he starts to turn into ashes. Damn it, Hadrick says. He jumps towards the shaman, but all he gets to punch out his ashes, which are now slowly piling on the floor of the cavern. Luna was a brief state of shock after the shaman's reveal, but then her expression darkened and she went to sit herself down on the floor with her back leaning against one of the cave walls. What are you waiting for? She asked when she sees us looking at her. Get going. I'll hold the ogres off here. It's not like there's much else I can do in the little time I had. It's true then, Hiruna said what the ogre said. Yes. Iluna says, the curse is much too powerful for me to break with any of the spells I know. The shaman was being generous when he said that I'd get to live for another hour. From what I can tell, the curse will likely kill me in the next 15 minutes. No, Rose shouts, you can't give up. You can't just give up like this. There has to be a way to... Rose stops mid-sentence because she sees Darren starting to move towards Iluna. When he reaches her, he lifts his sword and looks at the Banshee without uttering a word. Looks back at him and she laughs. My apologies, she says. I nearly forgot that you wanted to have me purified. Well, here I am. Give it your best shot. With a little luck, after you kill me, you might be able to wake Flower up from a stasis so she can say her goodbyes. Shut up, Darren says he readies his sword. Darren, no, Rose shouts as Darren sticks his sword into Iluna's right leg. A bright white light surrounds the Banshees for a few seconds, and then a green smoke starts to come out of her, which evaporates into thin air soon after. Iluna says in a state of complete shock. What did you... I broke the curse, Darren says. I'm both a white mage and an enchanter, remember? It's only natural that my sword can do something as trivial as dispelling an ordinary death curse without requiring me to use magic. This makes us even. You saved my life, I saved yours. Now we can move on with our lives. Never speak of these events ever again. Agreed, Iluna says after a while, and she uses her healing magic to patch up her wound. I was thinking how she's gonna walk, but right, she has healing magic. Iluna, thank the gods, Rose says as she comes to give her a big hug. You're going to be okay, right? There's no other curses? No, Iluna says, looking a little flustered. No other curses as far as I can tell. There's still the matter of the hordes of ogres approaching us, though. No need to worry about that, Hardrick says with a grin. I've got a plan, but first we all need to get out of the cave. He's gonna collapse the cave. Come out, move on, move. As we all get out of the abandoned mines, Hadrick jumps high into the air. He punches the rocks above the cave entrance, and the whole rocky wall crumbles and completely blocks the path that leads up to the caverns. That's it, Darren said. Well, that's your plan? Simple but effective. What do you think? Hadrick says with a wide grin. Did it come across your mind that they might have warriors within their ranks that are capable of moving a few rocks out of the way? Darren says. Not to mention all the mages that can just blow the rocks up. If they try to use explosive, they'll just bury themselves in, Iluna says, and from what I can see while I was walking around the fort, the captain was the only warrior that had a strength comparable to the dwarves. They can still use air magic to move the rocks out of the way. It will take them a while. That gives us more than enough time to make ourselves scarce. Then there you have it, Hadrick says. Come on, let's go get our backpacks. Wait, Arga says. I'm sensing two ogres hiding invisibly near the base of the hill. Are they in our way? Darren says. No, but they might try to ambush us later. Well, let them be. I don't want to get into the main part of stealthing is that you don't necessarily kill because that just brings us more trouble. Let them be. Let them be, I say. We shouldn't be wasting any more time here. We already got what we came for. Even if they decide to ambush us, I can still detect them. It's not like they'll taken us by surprise. Aye, Hadrick says. The sooner we get out of here, the better. Let's get going. As soon as we all agree to ignore the two ogres, we head towards the forest in order to retrieve our backpacks. Once we dig up all our belongings, we waste no time and we begin our long journey back to the Sacred Woods ruins. We've been keeping a relatively fast pace for the first hour in order to make sure that we put enough distance between ourselves and the ogres. After confirming several times that we weren't being followed, started to slow down a bit. The sun had already set when we left the stronghold, but there were many stars in the sky. The moon was almost full, so we decided to keep going until we were comfortable enough with the distance between ourselves and the ogre's territory. Healer, Iruna says as we walk through the woods, after I released you from your cell, you promised that you wouldn't attack me until we escaped the fort. Now we are a safe distance enough from the ogres. You are no longer bound by that promise. Shall I start to prepare my defenses? No, I Darren starts to say, but he pauses. I don't really feel like fighting anymore today. I see, Iruna says, eyeing him suspiciously. I'm so glad that we didn't run into any mages since we left the ruins, Rose says, trying to change the subject. It would have taken us a lot longer to complete our mission if we kept getting attacked, encountering people who attack Kate out of the blue. Why are they attacking you specifically? Luna asked Kate. Aren't most people in this group part of the same what? Aren't most people in this group part of the same tournament? Yes, but I'm the only one here who gets mistaken for a banshee, Kate says. Tava tried to teach me how to suppress my aura well enough to pass as a normal human, but I just couldn't keep up with her. That girl has an extraordinary talent when it comes to learning these things herself, but she's a very poor teacher, Luna says. The technique in itself isn't that difficult to master, but you only need a little guidance to learn the basics. For instance, a good starting point would be to practice calming the flow of your aura first. Here, let me show you how it's done. Luna spent the next 2 hours teaching Kate how to suppress her aura step by step, while we kept marching towards the ruin. By the time she was done, I could see that they'd made enormous progress. Kate's magical aura was barely noticeable when she suppressed it. Now, you could very well confuse her with a normal human if you didn't examine her closely. The lessons Iruna provided were interesting enough that even Hardrick and I joined in midway, and we both spent more than half an hour doing various exercises suggested by her to help us hide our auras from the enemies. Can I do it? I mean, can our character do it? He's a Lasethi. He has very little aura to begin with, but I don't know. Once we found a good camping spot, we started to set up our tents. Hardrick said the two of his spare tents needed to be fixed before they could be used again. So Rose offered to share her tents with Kate and Luna for the night. Then we started discussing how to divide guard duty between us. Case, Rose, and Hardrick unanimously voted for me and Darren to take the first shift. The flawless synchronization when they voted for us was suspicious to say the least, but decided not to call them out on it for the time being. Before we went to sleep, Hardrick insisted that we hold a toast to celebrate our victory, but nobody seemed to be in the mood for drinking, given how tired they were for today's event. Offered to share a drink with Hardrick before taking the first shift. Yeah, let's take a drink. Just one drink, though. Toast. Since nobody else offered, I told Hardrick that I'd share one drink with him before taking my shift. He pulled out 2 bottles of dwarven ale from his backpack, and then we went to sit ourselves down on 2 rocks that were facing each other, away from the tents. When the giants make a toast, they first spilled a bit of ale on the ground to also give the warriors fallen in battle something to drink, Hardrick says as he opens our 2 bottles. I always get in trouble when I do this in a dwarven tavern, so it's refreshing to do it outside for a change. This is his bottle, a toast, he says, for retrieving the chalice and coming one step closer to removing these blasters contraptions from our neck. We clink the 2 bottles. They're drinking a whole bottle. I said one drink, not a fucking bottle. We clink the 2 bottles and we both spill a bit of ale on the ground before starting drinking. This is the first time I've tasted something like this. I felt a strong burning sensation and the ale went down my throat. I'm already starting to feel a little dizzy. This is what I was trying to avoid. It doesn't even compare to the strongest drink available in the taverns from the western continent. First time drinking dwarven ale, eh? Hardrick says with a grin as he sees the expression on my face. Yes, I knew this was supposed to be strong, but I didn't expect it to be this much stronger than anything else I've drunk before. Aye, Hardrick says, this is why I spend so much of my time in the dwarven lands. Plus, the locals are really nice. Most of the tavern owners know that I'm a giant in disguise. They welcome me with open arms regardless. Part of that is probably because they'd be losing a quarter of their monthly profit if they stop receiving me, but still. Are giants not usually welcome in dwarven lands? Well, it's nothing official, but many of the dwarves don't really love us giants very much. There was a pretty bloody history between our 2 people, even though we are at peace now. Old grudges still remain. It also doesn't help when some smart-ass giant decides to go on a rampage in the middle of a dwarven territory just to satisfy his inferiority complex. Most of these troublemakers have been dealt with by our own warriors, but they usually get to do a lot of damage before they're caught. It's not like the lives they've taken can just be bought back again. He pauses a bit to take a drink from his bottle. Maybe enough about politics, he says. We should be discussing more important matters. Like, for example, what's going on between you and Rose? Is just me, or have you two been getting a little closer the past 2 days? Not at all. What makes you say that? I guess you could say that. You've been getting closer, but not in the way you might think. I guess you could say that. Knew it, the dwarf says. I thought there might be something going on when I saw the two of you together yesterday night, but I wasn't really sure. There's nothing official, so I'd appreciate if you kept this conversation between you and me. Nobody's there, lad, Hardrick says with a grin. I know that I may be I may look like a big mouth type. When it comes to sensible matters like these, I assure you that I can be the soul of discretion. Leaving Rose aside, though, I say, I think what we all want to know is what's going to happen with you and Araka. Have you proposed to her yet? The dwarf laughs. Now you're asking the right question, he says. He takes another drink from his bottle. I've been meaning to do it, but I just couldn't find the right moment. I'm still thinking of an excuse to give Flower or Luna to lend me the amulet for a while, so that the two of us can have some quality alone time together. He pauses and we both take another drink. But in all seriousness, though, Hadrick says, if it weren't for her intervention earlier today, I'm not sure how well I would have handled myself against that ogre captain. I've no doubt that she'd kill me without hesitation if she ever gets out of that amulet. I guess I do owe her one for that. I've never really had to work together with others to take care of my enemies before. I usually travel and fight alone, so I'm not really used to these kinds of things. But I admit that being a part of a group has been a nice change of pace for me. To be honest, I didn't really come to the tournament to win the Magium. I came here for the experience mostly, and I'd say it's been going pretty well so far. What about you, Barry? What are your plans in case you actually win the tournament? Well, I'm going to use the Magium to become a mage. Yeah, got that, but I mean afterwards. What do you plan to do after you become mage? I want to start going on adventures. I want to gain flame and glory. I want to use my magic to help people. I want to go and conquer the world. I'm just in it for the money. What was the option of I want to explore magic or something like that? I haven't really thought about that yet. Well, I don't really want to do any of these. I wanted to do like, I want to explore magic and check it out. I haven't really thought about that yet. I'm just going to go with that then. Hardrick laughs. I thought that might be the case, he says. Well, there's no need to worry about it now. You'll figure it out when the time comes. I completely agree. I hear Rose's voice coming from behind. If becoming a mage was important enough for Barry to risk coming here, then he should focus all of his energy on accomplishing his goal and worry about the details afterwards. And decide what he wants to do with his powers once he gets them. Hardrick grins as he looks at Rose. Should I take it that you have finally changed your mind and decided to join us? He says. I got more bottles of ale stashed up in my backpack, so there's no need for you to hold back. Actually, no, Rose says. Only came here because I got a few things to say to Barry before going to sleep. Say no more, Hardrick says yes from his seat. Please take my seat. I was just about to go back to my tent. He then raises his bottle again. I'm still very confused. Who should I go for? Kate or Rose? I'm pretty sure it's a linear path until like the very end of the game, I'm guessing. Just like Medieval Fantasy did, but we'll see. Please take my seat. I'll just be going back to the tent. He then raises his bottle again. Cheers, Barry, he says. We both clink our bottle once more, and then we chug down the last of our ale. Okay, Barry, listen closely, Rose says in a low voice as Hadrick heads for his tent. I think you might have already realized by now that she pauses mid-sentence. She looks at my face. Barry, are you drunk? She asks. Maybe a little, I answer. Rose giggles. Hold on, she says. I've got some herbs in my backpack that will get you back in shape in no time. And you won't have to worry about a hangover either. I'll be right back. When she's done searching her backpack, she comes back with a fistful of red leaves. This is going to be one of those situations where I can't decide which one to pick. And it's just going to end up with, no one. That sort of situation might happen. Who knows? I really like Kate, but I also like Rose a lot. So hopefully there's like an option to pick both of them, but that's highly unlikely. Most of the Western games do not have that sort of option. Eastern games, though, do have those options generally. So once I'm done, I realize that my dizziness is completely gone. I can think clearly again. So as I was saying, Rose says, you might have already realized by now that the Kate, Hardrick and I had a little discussion before voting for you and Darren to take the first night shift. I'm sorry that we didn't invite you as well, but someone needs to stay with Darren so that he wouldn't get suspicious. I kind of figured that something was wrong when I saw how well in sync you three were. I say, so what's this all about then? Well, you know how Lewis said that Flower still needs to remain in stasis until at least tomorrow evening? Yes, I remember. Continue. The thing is that Luna hasn't slept at all since before her shift last night, and I'm starting to get a bit worried. I think she's afraid that Darren will kill her in her sleep if he sees her vulnerable, and she no longer has Flower to protect her while she's not awake. And also there's another thing of, what is it? Fucking who's gonna keep in check Araka while both of them are sleeping?